As soon as Carolyn set foot in Hollywood in the 1950s, she was swiftly confronted by a dark and ugly truth. Her talent and acting prowess alone would not be enough to propel her toward success. She soon realized that she had to change her appearance to fit industry standards if she really wanted to make it in Hollywood. Driven by an unwavering desperation to achieve her dreams and a tenacity that could not be doused, Carolyn Jones's willingness subjected herself to the surgeon's knife, enduring the pain and outrageous fees of the procedure just so that she could finally have the career she yearned for. By the time the cosmetic surgery was over, she came out looking like an entirely different person. Her nose was more pointed, and she certainly looked like Hollywood star material. Determined to leave no stone unturned, she also dyed her hair, ditched her Texas accent, and worked on her posture, hoping that all these would guarantee her success. Just like she hoped, her career took off shortly after she made these changes, but soon enough, her career became subject to the volatility of the industry. No amount of physical transformation could save her from the unpleasant side of Hollywood. From unexpected career failures to long-standing health challenges and controversies, these facts about Carolyn Jones will undoubtedly astonish you. Abandoned by her father. From the day Carolyn Jones came into this world, it was clear that there was something different about her. She carried a bright light that was obvious, but soon enough, circumstances threatened to dim her light. Carolyn spent her early years in Amarillo, Texas with her family, but there was nothing blissful about her childhood. Her father, who was a barber at the time, was struggling to cater for his family, and each day was another struggle to make ends meet. But despite the struggles, Carolyn filled her home with light and laughter through her storytelling skills. Sadly, the events that unfolded after that were enough to silence her. At the dawn of the Great Depression, every ounce of joy that was left in the Jones household faded away completely. Her parents' relationship grew extremely tense, and their finances were in shambles. Things only got worse as the years went by, and there didn't seem to be hope. Her parents kept on drifting apart, and the tension between them affected Carolyn deeply. As a sensitive child, Carolyn was completely shattered by what was happening in her home. She noticed everything, from the arguments to the cold air between her parents and her father's rage. This made her childhood unstable, and she was constantly in a state of panic. Her relationship with her father also grew cold as the years went by, and nothing prepared her for the decision her father made in the year 1934. Carolyn's father woke up on one fateful day and decided that he was done. He was going to walk away, and no one could stop him. He packed his bags and left, abandoning his 2 daughters and wife. One can only imagine how heartbroken Carolyn was when she found out that the man who was supposed to be her protector and provider had abandoned her. Unfortunately, it didn't stop there. Carolyn was in for one hell of a bumpy ride, and her mother's next move would unleash something dark and unexpected. Living life in terror. Unable to fend for her children, Carolyn's mom made a decision to move back into her parents' home with her children. This seemed like the best decision, but she had no idea what her decision would cause. If only she knew. When she initially moved into her grandparents' home, Carolyn struggled to adjust to the new environment, but she eventually got used to the place. With the support of her grandparents, she continued schooling, and she was taken care of. On the surface, it looked like her grandparents had stepped in and saved the day, but behind closed doors, Carolyn began to see another side to her grandparents that she never saw before. It was during that period that she noticed her grandfather's anger issues, and she often found herself facing the brunt of his anger. He would yell at her often and leave her terrified due to his rage. It was bad enough that she had to endure her father's actions. Now this, she was shattered. Unfortunately, she couldn't do anything about the situation. If she made a wrong move, she and her mother would be left homeless, and she didn't want that. In order not to be engulfed by the flames of poverty, Carolyn endured her grandfather's treatment every waking day. Most of her days were marred with terror, but she didn't have much of a choice. She had to stay there. As time went by, Carolyn started looking for ways to escape her reality. She wanted more out of life, perhaps even a chance to pursue her acting aspirations. She became engrossed in Hollywood fan publications and other things to help her escape reality. Just when the hope of a better life was beginning to rise up in her heart, Carolyn fell terribly ill, and her illness chained her to her reality. She couldn't run or hide. She had to stay and fight, bedridden and shut out from the world. Stuck in the four corners of a room, Carolyn prayed and begged death to stay far away from her. She still had so many dreams. She wasn't ready to go just yet. Not many people know this aspect of the actress's life, but there was a time when she was bedridden for a very long time. While everyone else was going about their daily lives, Carolyn was battling for her life. She had been diagnosed with severe asthma, and this illness threatened to suck the life inside of her. In order to save herself and recover, Carolyn had to stay indoors for a while. It was one of the worst periods of her life, especially because she couldn't do the things that she used to do, like going to the movies. Frail and mentally drained, she found strength in her favorite songs and imagined life after recovery. As soon as she recovered and stepped out of the four walls of that room, she made up her mind to go after her dreams, no matter what. It was around that time that she found out about the Pasadena Playhouse, which was one of the most famous acting schools at the time. More than anything, she wanted to enroll in the school and finally explore her acting skills. She wanted to stand on stages and give audiences a show. She wanted to act. Thankfully, she was able to convince her grandparents to enroll her in the school, and that alone was a dream come true. With so much passion, confidence, and enthusiasm, she finally got into the school, ready to pursue her dreams. Her eyes were fixed on her goals till she found herself falling deeply in love with a man that no one approved of. A forbidden young love? In the late 1940s, Carolyn was laser-focused on acting school, and she wasn't planning on letting anyone distract her. Well, let's just say that everything changed when she met 27-year-old Don Donaldson. Everyone who knew Carolyn Jones knew that she was a person who always fought for what she wanted. Even if no one else supported her decision, this was exactly what did when she fell head over heels for Donaldson. The pair met in 1949, and it is safe to say that it was love at first sight. They were completely smitten by each other, and they couldn't hide it. However, many people disapproved of their relationship because of the age gap. Carolyn was still 19 years old at the time, and Don was 27 years old. Their age difference certainly raised eyebrows, but this didn't stop them from solidifying their relationship. The couple later got married a year after dating, despite the clear disapproval from many. Unfortunately, Carolyn's marriage to Donaldson didn't stand the test of time. They separated just a year later. After their divorce, Carolyn made the final decision to block out any and everything that didn't contribute to her dreams of being an actress. Now more than ever, she didn't want any distractions, and she was ready to do whatever it took to become a star, even if it meant going under the knife, her sacrifices for stardom. In the 1950s, Carolyn was desperate for Hollywood fame. She was willing to do anything and everything to get through the doors of fame, but she wasn't prepared for the sacrifice she had to make. The actress came to a shocking and devastating realization after she graduated from acting school. This was the fact that her talent alone was not enough to make her famous in Hollywood. The industry required more than from actresses at the time, and she was ready to give them what they wanted. As someone who already had a prior interest in anything relating to acting, she was certain that she chose the right career path. Her time in acting school was fun and interesting, especially because she explored her creativity. She was said to have performed incredibly well in school, and she was given several awards for her performances. But when she finally stepped into the acting world, she realized that her skills, talents, and passion were not enough to make her a success in the industry. At the time, beauty was a big deal in the industry, and every female who didn't look like the Hollywood it girl had low chances of succeeding. Although Carolyn was already beautiful, she didn't think her beauty was enough for the industry. Perhaps she judged based on the performance of her career compared to the careers of other women who had succumbed to the beauty standards in Hollywood. As soon as she noticed this, she decided to do everything in her power to meet the industry's beauty standards. This decision led to her undergoing painful and extremely expensive cosmetic surgery. With the hopes of a better life and a successful career, Carolyn Jones went under the knife. She sacrificed a lot of money and went through a lot of pain to look like a woman that would fit into the idea of a perfect actress in Hollywood. By the time the procedure was done, Carolyn's appearance changed completely. Her makeover left her with a pointed nose, blonde hair, and a completely different posture. She also worked hard to lose her Texas accent and position herself for better opportunities. Coincidentally, it was shortly after this transformation that a talent scout noticed her while she was performing in a theater. At the time, she was the very image of a perfect actress, and it was clear that with her looks and talent, she would go far in the industry. Shortly after, she aced her screen test and signed her very first contract with Paramount Studios. Her physical transformation certainly worked, and she was able to get amazing roles, but it is quite shocking that she was willing to go to such lengths in order to build a successful career. Sadly, her looks didn't preserve her career for long. She was tossed aside shortly after. An unexpected financial crisis. After the success of her big screen debut, The Turning Point in 1952, Carolyn could not contain her joy. Finally, she was beginning to experience the fame and success she always wanted, but fate didn't let her rejoice for too long. Her career was spiraling downward in no time. Carolyn would have never imagined her career would go anywhere but up after the sacrifices she made, but she was wrong. The accolades and applause she received from her role in The Turning Point started fading away after a while. It was said that her career suffered after her breakthrough role because she didn't get any other major roles to keep her career afloat. Paramount Studios, which was the studio that she was signed to at the time, provided only 2 minor roles for her after her big break, and this was not enough to sustain her career. If she got another major role after The Turning Point, then it would have propelled her career and enabled her to keep soaring, but the minor roles she played were like pins that deflated her career. To make things worse, she didn't get any other reasonable role until her contract with the studio expired. When this happened, Carolyn was left in the cold with the disappointment that she felt. She had genuinely thought that she was going to become a star with the help of Paramount Studios, but clearly this didn't happen. There she was, broke, forgotten, and alone, wondering what she was going to do next. Sadly, she didn't make as much money as she thought from the films she had appeared in, so her finances were in shambles. All her efforts to revive her career fell through, leaving her no choice but to ask her family for help. Things got so bad that she had to contact her sister and ask her to move in with her so that they would split the rent. Things were not looking good for the actress, and after trying hard to revive her career, she was unable to get opportunities on the big screen. To say that she was devastated would be an understatement. There was nothing more she could do. She eventually stopped trying to regain success on the big screen. Hollywood had turned its back on her, so she had no choice but to turn to television. Thankfully, the actress was able to get some TV roles slowly but surely. Her finances improved, and she was able to get back on her feet. Things were finally falling into place, and to crown it all up, she met a man that swept her off her feet. The future was looking bright, or so she thought. She popped the big question. When Carolyn met Aaron Spelling, she believed that she had found her soulmate. Desperate to have him by her side forever, she devised a plan to do something that was unconventional in the 1950s. The actress returned to theater performances after working hard to find success on TV. She thoroughly enjoyed the art of performing in theater, especially because it allowed her to fully explore her dramatic acting skills. Little did she know that her love for the theater will bring her closer to a man that would become her lover. From the moment Aaron and Carolyn met, there was a clear connection between them. They bonded over their desire to make it big in the industry, and their chemistry was out of this world. They eventually got into the relationship, and with each passing day, Carolyn was more convinced that she wanted to spend the rest of her life with this man. She couldn't imagine life without him. Within that period, life gave her another reason to smile. She was chosen to play a role in House of Wax, which was a 3D film. This was a big deal because there were very few 3D films at the time, and Carolyn, being a part of such rare works of art, restored her lost glory and made her one of the most sought-after actresses. She was finally getting the career success she wanted. Surely nothing else could go wrong, right? Buoyed by her professional triumphs and intoxicated by the certainty of her love, Carolyn approached Aaron with a trembling heart. She yearned for the sanctity of marriage, eager to seal their bond in an eternal embrace. But fate, capricious and unpredictable, cast its shadow upon her desires. Aaron, plagued by the tumultuous currents of his own aspirations, confessed his hesitations. He was not yet ready to settle down, burdened by the weight of financial uncertainty. Carolyn's heart shattered, her dreams momentarily crumbling under the weight of his words. Desperation etched itself upon her face. Undeterred, Carolyn resolved to defy societal norms and seize control of her destiny. With an audacity that left the world gasping, she cast aside conventions and proposed to Aaron herself. The moment hung suspended, the world holding its breath. Aaron, awestruck by her boldness, found himself powerless against the strength of their love. He accepted her proposal, and a love story for the ages began. Her heart was full, her career was looking up, but once again, fate dealt her yet another devastating blow. She missed out on a life-changing role. When the casting executive at Columbia Pictures contacted Carolyn to inform her that she had been chosen to play the role of Lorene/Alma in the upcoming film From Here to Eternity, her heart leaped for joy. But what she saw as an answered prayer would soon turn into her biggest nightmare. Although Carolyn had already played some interesting roles in the past, there was no denying that the role she was being offered would change her life forever. The casting executive assured her that as soon as she passed the screen test, the role would automatically be hers. So, with enthusiasm and passion, Carolyn plunged into preparation mode. She wanted to do everything in her power to make sure that aced the test. After preparing thoroughly, Carolyn's joy was dampened on the evening before the screen test. Her health challenge was back, and there was nothing she could do about it. On the night before her big day, Carolyn began suffering from bouts of pneumonia. She fell terribly ill, and she had to be rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, her condition was extremely bad, and she almost her life on that night. There she was, laying in her hospital bed with the pain and regrets of what could have been. Clearly, she couldn't show up for the screen test the following day, and this led to her losing the life-changing opportunity. The role was eventually given to another actress, and the film turned out to be a major hit. Carolyn watched the biggest opportunity of her life pass her by, and she wondered why fate was so cruel. She then made up her mind to work on a comeback plan and prove herself in the industry. Her plans and efforts later paid off, but not for long. Just when she was getting back on her feet, she fell terribly ill again. She refused to kiss Elvis Presley on set. Back in the 1950s, Elvis Presley was said to be one of the most charming actors, and the ladies loved him. This was why it was so shocking when Carolyn decided that she didn't want to kiss him on the set of King Creole. While he was preparing to join the army, Elvis Presley decided to take one last role. This time, he was supposed to act Carolyn Jones's love interest. When the filming of King Creole commenced, everything was going well until Carolyn began to face her demons yet again. She came down with a terrible fever while filming, but she wasn't going to let her health stop her from playing this particular role. So Carolyn mustered the strength and continued acting until it was time for her to kiss Elvis Presley in one of the scenes. Unlike a lot of women who would jump at such, Carolyn didn't want to. Not because she found him unattractive, but because of her health. It was said that the actress literally begged to not kiss him. She desperately wanted that part of the scene to be removed because she was afraid that she would make him sick through the kiss. Elvis Presley managed to douse the situation with a little humor by saying he hoped the effect of the kiss would get him out of the army. Thankfully, Carolyn was able to act on all her scenes successfully and with the support of her colleagues. In the end, the film turned out to be a huge success. She was glad and inspired to keep pushing. She kept working hard until she landed a role in The Addams Family. Not many are aware of this, but the role of Morticia was not exactly loved by all. In fact, the character led to a controversy that the actress didn't see coming. She was condemned for a role. In the 1960s, a lot of things that the world now sees as normal were unacceptable and almost seen as taboos. Romance on screens was not exactly normalized, and some actors like Carolyn were even condemned as a result of on-screen romance. After several years of investing in her craft, Carolyn finally landed a TV role that changed the game. She was chosen to portray Morticia Gomez's wife in The Addams Family, and as soon as it aired, viewers were left in awe and utter shock. Apparently, several people were taken aback by her on-screen romance with her husband. Some claimed that the sexual chemistry between Morticia and Gomez was too much. Clearly, people in the 60s would not be able to handle the romance on screen these days. But that wasn't all. Her role led to serious controversy, and several people condemned her actions. The actress who was only playing her role wasn't deterred by the comments. Being an actress meant that she was going to do things that people were not okay with sometimes. The show turned out to be a major hit, garnering several fans who looked forward to new episodes. The show's success made her even more famous and opened more doors for her. It is safe to say that this very role that was condemned by some was the role that made the actress a macabre icon. After the success of the show, Carolyn spent the next few decades doing the very thing she loved the most, acting. She kept on facing challenges from failed marriages to her ill health, but none of these stopped her from acting. Unfortunately, her health kept on deteriorating in the 1980s, and she knew that her end was close. To fulfill her final wish, she tied the knot with her longtime boyfriend in 1982. Sadly, the actress passed away the following year after a long battle with colon cancer. Her death certainly left a void in the industry at the time. Several years have passed by, but she is still remembered as an impeccable actress with a determined spirit. Just like Carolyn, Tina Turner was also known for her passion for her craft and the way she kept fighting for her spot regardless of challenges. Click on this video to see some parts of the musician's life that remained hidden till her death.